Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to the Town of Hilton Head Island's Gullah Geechee Land and Cultural Preservation Task Force meeting. This is Monday, January the 3rd, 2022. Certainly want to let everyone know how much I appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and we're so grateful that we've made it to another year. These are still very challenging times, but I want each and every one of you to know just how much I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to be in this meeting, and for the input and support that you've given over the past few years to this task force, to the town of Hilton Head and members of town council who are present. I believe I see Councilwoman Becker and Councilman Brown. I'm not sure if there are others, but really appreciate everything that we've done together with the town and with our staff, members of the task force, and our public. So again, welcome and thank you for being here. And we're looking forward to a great year. We're grateful to God that we've made it this far. And we pray that everyone is staying safe and healthy and will be very prosperous in the new year. Teresa, are we in compliance with FOIA?
Yes, sir, we are.
Thank you so much. Would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Abdul Malik,
I'm here.
Mr. Simmons,
I'm here.
Mr. Campbell,
I'm here.
Mr. Hens,
Here.
Mr. Stevens.
I'm here.
And for the record, Ms. Green is expected.
Oh, very good. Okay. Just getting back to. Okay, we do have an agenda that's been set before us. If there's no changes or revisions to the agenda, could I have a motion to approve the agenda that's set before us?
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Thank you so much. And hopefully everyone's had a chance to review the notes from our last meeting back December the 6th. With that, Teresa, do you need to call the roll for approval?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Could we have a motion and a second on the meeting minutes?
Well, I have one thing that I wanted to add to the minutes. I thought we were just voting on the agenda, first of all.
Right, I thought we were just at the agenda. Were you trying to do both of them at the same time?
No, sir, we could take them one at a time. Would you like me to call the roll on the agenda?
Yes, please.
Certainly. Mr. Abdul Malik,
I accept.
Mr. Simmons,
All the motion.
Mr. Campbell,
Approve.
Mr. Hens,
I believe you're muted.
Approve.
thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Approve.
Motion carries 5-0.
Very good. And now, I apologize. We do have the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our December 6th meeting at this time.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have a comment I'd like to make that I would like to have added to the minutes.
Okay, is this the appropriate time to make the comments now, or do we need the motion?
If we could have a motion in a second and then discussion, please.
Right, then we'll have the discussion.
And
So
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Thank you. Okay, so now I think we have some time for discussion. Mr. Malik, you had a comment?
I do, yes, sir. I just wanted to, I noticed that in the staff report, there was no mention of the inquiry that I made regarding the overlay. So I wanted to ask if we could please have my inquiry about the overlay added to the minutes. And then, and also the staff response to my inquiry. That would be my first, my first concern.
Dr. DeBose?
Yes, sir.
Was that possible?
Yes, that can be added.
Do you still have his comments from the previous meeting?
We can go through those records and it's recorded, so we can go through those records and view those again and have them added.
Okay, and I think that at the time, Mr. Malik, you were also looking for some sort of response or.
Well, I would like to have both my inquiry and the response added to the records,
Okay, very good. Just to be
added to the
clear.
written record. And then I don't know if this is an appropriate time or not, but I wanted to ask, when would be the appropriate time to suggest that an update for the overlay should be a regular part of the staff report?
That can be done during the staff report when asked for general questions, but we can put that down, make that notification that that would be a regular update.
Are you looking for that to be, well, as Dr. DeBose says, I guess you can include that in her staff report. Are you looking for that to be a regular agenda item? Is that your question?
That would be my question, yes. And that would be, that was not my question, that would be my recommendation as well.
Right.
We can do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hopefully you will have something in the staff report for this meeting, Dr. DeBose, because it's not actually an agenda item for this particular meeting, but going forward to Mr. Malik's point, maybe we can make that an agenda item. Okay, so I have a motion and a second, and I think that with the revision that Mr. Malik added, is that what we are looking to approve here with our minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So noted with Mr. Malik's revision. I have a motion and I have a second. Would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Abdul Malik,
I accept.
Mr. Simmons,
For the motion.
Mr. Campbell,
Accept.
Mr. Hens.
I was not present at that meeting, so I'll pass.
Okay, Mr. Stevens.
Approved.
Motion carries 4-1, 4-0-1 with one abstention.
Okay. All right, the next item on our agenda is citizen comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public comments concerning agenda items were to be submitted electronically via the town's open town hall portal. The public comment period closed at noon today, and there were no comments of record. In addition to commenting on the portal, citizens were provided the option to call into the meeting to give comments by phone during the meeting. However, we have no callers for this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. The next item that I have on the agenda for discussion items is the Historic Neighborhoods Permitting and Design Studio. I believe this will be presented by Dr. DeBose.
Yes, good afternoon and Happy New Year. The Historic Neighborhoods Permitting and Design Studio was launched in October of 2021. And this was a means to implement Project PP3 from the Gullah Geechee Preservation Project report. And that is to assist property owners with town regulations. What this is a one-step resource for property owners in historic neighborhoods who need assistance with development permits, family compounds and family subdivisions, conceptual site design. That's when the urban planner will work with you to sketch out a site plan. Addressing property access, which is driveways and easements. We'll also work with you to acquire business licenses and connecting the public to additional resources, such as those who need business information or information on heirs property, taxes, and other resources. So the Historic Neighborhoods Permitting and Design Studio is really more than just giving an application to the property owners for them to complete. It's where property owners can call up and set up an appointment to meet with the appropriate staff and me to walk through and have them be walked through the process step by step until their project is completed. Several departments work in collaboration to ensure that the property owners are being served. Those departments include, but are not limited to, the Development Review and Zoning, Urban Design, Natural Resources, Legal, Building Inspections, and Fire Rescue. And the meetings will take place as many times as necessary to complete the project. And staff is already working in coordination with these departments, but what this permitting and design studio did was formalize the process so that there's a person or people that people can call in to get those resources, know what to do, be walked through step by step. And so currently the permitting and design studio is assisting 20 property owners at the moment. And sometimes it can be a quick process where we get the information, it's done very quickly. And sometimes, depending on the challenges that the property owner may face, it takes more time. But staff is still there to be of assistance to help alleviate some of those challenges. So you should have received a report, and this further details the people that have been served, the historic neighborhoods where assistance was requested, and some of the challenges that are faced that they sought when they called into the permitting and design studio. And so the pamphlets have been shared via media and hard copy throughout the community. And staff is asking for the help of the task force to further share this information. And staff is very excited about this project because it allows constant communication with the property owners, and it also puts us in a position to be helpful. Thank you.
Okay. I know I have some questions. I guess we'll go in order here in the discussion. I'll start with Mr. Malik, Ibrahim Abdul Malik.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I had to step away for 1 second. Do you mind if I go later? Let me just hear what other comments might be, and then I'll
Sure.
probably have a comment at the end. I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. Simmons?
No comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Ms. Green hasn't joined us yet. Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. If I'm going to the town to do something with my property, how would I know about this historic neighborhood design studio?
Well, I can share that information with you. It was shared via task force and sent links. Several pamphlets have been placed throughout the community in a couple of churches that I know. In the last event that was the Gullah celebration, Gullah market event, we've had some pamphlets, And I'm happy to meet with you and give you that information. But we've been trying to share that throughout the community. It's also been in several publications, one being the Hilton Head Monthly. But we've been sharing that, and we're not going to stop sharing that information, but we want to reach as many people as possible.
Okay. Is it on like the town website or anything
It is
also?
on the town website. And the thing about it is that the community development staff has been working in collaboration with one another. So anyone you ask, if you come to the town, we all know about the project and they know where it should be directed, questions should be directed. But we work in collaboration with everyone.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hintz.
Yes, that was my first question as well, and it sounds like you're doing, sounds like you've made a plan on how to get the word out, but it would be nice if we could ultimately get to a central focal point. Maybe it's the town website that everybody in the communities know about, or some other source, so that all of the town's initiatives are in one place that they can rely on and count on. So maybe all of our marketing information, it might be best to direct it to our website. The second question is, the studio links various departments of the town. Does it also attempt to link outside resources, maybe SCORE or the chamber or other resources that might be available and helpful within the community?
Yes, and answer your first question, the town has a dedicated webpage to all Gullah initiatives, and that is included. The permitting and design studio is included in that town webpage. And, we will take any links or additional help to spread that information through whatever resources are necessary to get that information out there. The other question is, we can add SCORE to our webpage, but we have a whole list of resources that include the chamber, that include the Heritage Library, that include the Center for Heirs Property Preservation, that people can get those resources.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple comments and maybe a couple of questions, and some of them have kind of been answered. But before I do, I also want to recognize the presence of Councilman Ames. I see has also joined us in the meeting. Thank you for being here. I would encourage all of us with the task force, as Dr. DeVos says, there was some information sent out about the design studio. I believe it was started in October. Is that correct?
The design studio was launched in October, yes.
Yeah, it was launched in October. There were some things in some local media and magazines. And I guess the information that I see on the town's website is pretty much saying the same thing as that, yeah. So the very first step is to start with you, Dr. DeVos, that's correct?
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned some of the other team members on your staff that are working with you. What I'm hoping for in this particular presentation is to certainly educate us as task force members and our public. It may be my fourth grade mentality, but probably some charts and designs and just, how it looks from the front door and what departments are involved and that sort of thing. I'm hoping to have that experience firsthand myself as we get questions from people in the community. But I guess what I'm trying to say or ask is, I don't know if you said it before or not, but can you tell us a little bit more about some of the other staff members and departments that are involved in that process?
Yes, the other staff members are fire rescue. These particularly are helpful when you have questions about new hydrants and addressing. Definitely the Department of Zoning Review, helpful. They are helpful when they're sketching out designs for where you're placing your home, your buffers, your setbacks. Working with the urban designer to put proper placement on the home, or whatever you're trying to develop. And our urban designer does a great job in mapping that out for you and letting you know and seeing if this is what you want it to look like. We haven't had any business inquiries so far, but we're working with those departments as well. So there's no limit to the departments that we're working with in the town staff. It just depends on the questions that you have.
Okay, thank you. And the other questions that I have is something we talk about quite often, and I will try to remember to keep mentioning that even throughout the year, as it relates to data and metrics, to see just how we're doing and what we're doing and exactly what challenges we're facing. You mentioned that there are 20 property owners that are using the design studio right now.
Yes.
Can you tell me or tell us if, like, most of those properties are located in a particular historic neighborhood?
We've been working with several neighborhoods. We've been working with properties out of 9 of the 14 historic neighborhoods. We've been working with those particular properties. It could range from anything from placing a mobile home to submitting a permit to having questions about family compound, family subdivision. We've had a whole range of questions.
So then there are people who are using the design studio that are not necessarily native founders or connected to the culture. Is that right?
Town staff works with anybody who has a question, but mostly we've been working with native islanders with the design studio. We wouldn't leave anybody out there just wondering and having questions, but for the most part, it's native islanders that we've been working with.
And so we've been able to apply some of the changes that we've made with LMO to helping folks understand how to use their property, right?
That's correct.
Good. Yeah. And you just mentioned a couple things. So what's the biggest challenges you see with people coming in to use the design studio?
Just the process, how long it takes. There are some challenges where certain things have to be corrected. So it just takes a little bit more time. That's the biggest challenge that we're seeing is the time.
So I mean, is it mostly mobile homes placement, or is it developing property, or is it just kind of getting ideas for the site plan?
It can be a wide range of things. If remember, a lot of times that there are placements of homes even before there were some certain things in place. And so in trying to correct everything so that's in compliance, so that it's in compliance with the LMO can be a challenge.
Yeah. And I guess what I'm after again is to try to have a good record of data of, exactly what some of those issues are, so we can see, people having the same challenges, but there's a wide range of challenges, just exactly how many people are dealing with similar issues or if they're all completely different. The design studio is probably something, as you mentioned all of this, then that will also be like a living document, if you will. So if we see where there's places where we can improve on how we help folks through that process, then we can make changes to the design studio such as it is. I'll let that be my comments for now. I'm going to circle back around to Mr. Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Dr. DeBose, so if a potential member of the community comes in and goes through the process with the design studio. And let's say they're given a laundry list of things to do. And if they complete that laundry list based on what's given to them from the studio, would that, in a sense, expedite the process of getting things permitted?
The quicker that the applicant submits a completed application, the quicker everything can go through the process. Remember, completed applications are the applications that get processed first when working in certain areas. The family compound, family subdivision gets expedited first, and other applications really have a quick turnaround time anyway. So if you get your completed application in, then yes, that application will be expedited. And
Okay,
we
I guess
don't- oh,
I guess what I'm
sorry.
saying, if I came to you with a empty piece of paper and I said, okay, this is what we have.
Mhm.
Let's put a design together on this empty piece of paper based on my particular property.
Right,
We put that plan together. I'm given a list of what I need to do based on the plan we put together. And once I've done those things, would there be, if I did it to the letter, would there be any other things required of me once I leave the design studio?
we try to get everything in the first go around. You get your comments report about what needs to be added, what needs to be changed if it's not correct, but we try to get it as, as soon as possible. We don't want to just give you dibs and dabs of what you need to correct. We try to do that on the front end. And we wouldn't just give you a laundry list. We try to help you complete that list. Go through it step by step on what it is that you need to do. And the purpose is so you don't go to your surveyor and say, well, I need to do this, and then it's not correct. We want to do it in a way where you can work with the surveyor to get it to where it needs to be.
Okay. So again, if I go through that, if I spend the time on the front end designing my whole layout, then I should have on paper what I need to do in order for my process to go through faster. Am I right?
Yes, and then we work with you to make sure that what you brought to us on paper is what's needed. We will let you know if there's more things that's needed. So if you gave us a design and there's something just a little off kilter, we let you know that that's something that needs to be corrected. And before you go to your surveyor and have them put down something in stone and you paid a lot of money for it.
Okay. Now, does this studio assistance apply to businesses as well as residential?
It applies to any question you have a need for. We work with the appropriate departments to help you through those processes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? And again, I wanted to have this presentation to help educate us, especially as task force members, that we have a very full and deep understanding of what the design studio is and how it works, so that we can also respond to our community and our public. And I will reiterate, I would like to maybe see some real specific data on, how many people are trying to do mobile homes, how many people are dealing with raw property, or how many people are trying to do something else. And you said we didn't have anybody just trying to do anything with businesses right now. For my task force members and the public, yes, this information is on the town's website. And there's some other places that we can look that we want to be very familiar with how this works. I think this is going to be an important tool to addressing some of the concerns from our public and people in the community. And again, as it relates to some of the changes we've made in the LMO in the past year or so, that we can apply different things like buffers and setbacks and density. I know that's been a big question about how much can I put on my property. Yes, sir.
Just one quick question. I know you've been doing it only since October, but
Mhm.
has anyone been able to go from A to Z through the process since you started?
Yeah, so we've got about 5 completed from the actual inception, and then more since before that. As I said before, this was only formalized in October, but we've been working in collaboration even before before formalizing the permitting and design studio. But since its inception, about 5 property owners have gone through the
Okay.
process.
I mean, that's really good.
And those 5 are, can you tell us what those 5 really were? Were they just mostly mobile homes, or was it somebody?
It's
Bill?
a period between placing mobile homes, addressing, placing hydrants. It's a myriad of different development challenges.
Okay. Great. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Dr. DeBose, for that. And we will probably continue to have this discussion about that in some of the meetings throughout the year. And hopefully all get to have some good experience with that, and looking for some positive results from the community. Okay, the next item that I have on the agenda is Fire in the Streets Community Initiative. And I believe this is a staff presentation by Shahida.
Good
Please.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Happy New
Um,
Year.
Happy New Year. We just wanted to do a little presentation on Fire in the Streets. It has been a program that we put in place in 2015. And during that program, it started out that we tried to look at some areas where we were having some fires, and that is how we originally targeted some of the areas that we went into. When we do Fire in the Streets, we basically pick a street or a few streets, and we go out to each of the homes. We take fire safety information with us, and we also either check smoke alarms that they already have, or if they do not have smoke alarms at all, or they are outdated, then we install new ones, or we change batteries if they just need batteries changed. And really, from the time of its inception in 2015, we've visited over 500 homes. And, 2020 was a little bit of a challenge for us. We didn't really get to do anything that year. And we went to homes if we were called to go to homes, but we did not do Fire in the Streets that year, just because of everything that was going on. But we have started back, and a few weeks ago, we did some areas off of Marshland Road, and we have one that we are planning to do most likely at the beginning of February for Chisholm, because in addition to doing the smoke alarms, we have also added in addressing, posting addresses, because that is one of the things, either when we are visiting the sites, that the addresses aren't posted visibly where we can see them and know what homes are addressed as what. And then also with some of the readdressing that has had to take place, it is also we want to make sure that everybody's new addresses are posted. So when we visit Chisholm in February, we will be doing smoke alarms and also offering to add new address posting. And I think that Sharice may have shared with you some pictures from the last one that we did. We had took some photos of us posting some addresses at those and putting up the smoke alarms. And so, you know, for you all too, most of what we focus on is in the historic neighborhoods. Like I said, over the past years, we've visited about 500 homes, and we keep track of them. We keep a map as to where we've gone, because it also helps us too, should we have a fire at any of them, we like to go back and look to see that if those were homes that we installed smoke alarms, and did the smoke alarms alert the residents. So that is a little bit about the program. And if you all have questions, I would be happy to answer any of them.
Okay, thank you, Jahida. I'll go in order here according to my outline. Palmer, Simmons. Questions or comments? You're muted.
Okay, there we go. I don't really have any comments. I mean, the program sounds like something they're gonna try to get back going. You know, I think our neighborhoods could always use a boost of a kind, I suppose. And I suppose the fire department, they'll follow through and get the neighborhoods these little upgrades that I think will be a benefit. So basically my little 2 cents, but it sounds like a worthy kind of program. So we'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully it'll continue to grow and do well.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Teresa, has Ms. Green joined us yet?
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Green is not on the line at this time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Campbell.
No, I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hintz.
Yeah, I think it's a really good program. I mean, fire awareness is always something that everybody could, focus on from time to time, just to keep our guard up. And this is certainly a good way to make that happen in the neighborhoods. Do you bring the fire trucks as well so that the kids can get a look?
We do. So typically what we do is there are people who come in to work the program, because if the fire trucks get called away, they have to go do their job. But we do have them come and help us, and they're there for everybody to see, and to get them out into their neighborhoods also where they are serving, to meet the people that live there.
That's excellent. It's got to be fun for your staff as well. So that's kudos to you on that. What about, and this may be related, maybe not, but what about CPR training? Might that be something that you develop a program around as well?
We do. We have a CPR program that we schedule classes every month. And then we also offer to do skills training, so people can take the CPR class online from the Red Cross, and then we will do the skills training to get them their cards. And then, like I said, we do classes every month at headquarters. There's no charge for the class, but if you want the certification card, you pay for the card. But we don't charge for anybody to take the class.
Maybe, Sharice, maybe we could add that to our design studio or the town's website, where we're collecting all of this information resources.
Sure, could do that, yes.
Great, good program. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Malik.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Just one question, Ms. Jahida. Do you all have a, how do you determine where you do the fire in the streets? Do you have a design to get hit all the neighborhoods at some point in time, or is it just done randomly?
So that is our goal, is to get the majority of the areas outside of all of the planned unit developments. So like I said, what we did was we mapped where we had fires previously. And so we went back and we targeted those neighborhoods first. And so, we've been working through them. We try to do fire in the streets at least 4 times a year. And depending on what we get for the number of people who can work that day, that kind of dictates how many homes we try to knock out during that day. So, sometimes we might do a street or two. Sometimes we've done a bigger neighborhood. So it just kind of depends. And but it is our goal to try to get to most of the homes that are outside the plan unit developments.
Okay, and secondly, when you go and you do the work, the people that are coming in to do the work, do they have to have any kind of special certification or training, or can anyone volunteer to assist?
So we always need people to help us do our scribing, which is to fill out our paperwork. So typically what we do is, like, we partner with like the Red Cross. We've had some volunteers previously, and they usually go with one of the fire personnel. And, we usually are the ones that put up the smoke alarms, but that's one thing that Sharice and I have talked about is, asking if any of you all would like to come to help, or just in general, like we can use volunteers, because it takes a few people to coordinate everything while we're in the home, and to talk about the fire safety part of it.
I'm in if we can ride in the fire truck.
We could probably make that happen.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, good job, Johaida. First thing I want to ask you, though, is make sure I'm pronouncing your name right. And I also want to make sure that I address you correctly. What's your official title?
My official title would be Deputy Chief.
So you're Deputy Chief Feister, or is it Feaster?
Pfister.
Pfister. Very good. Deputy Chief Pfister. I want to make sure that I say that correctly. And some of the questions have kind of been answered, and it's related to some of the questions I had before. I just try to get a feeling of what's going on in our community. And you mentioned have been several areas that may had some fire or needed some attention. What areas are you seeing the most need in, or what you've had most of your? Is it one particular neighborhood, for instance? Is it?
No. Like I said, we've been all over, and I'd be happy to try to put a list together of, like, we keep track of all of the homes that we've been to, so we could give you some idea of where we have been. And really, it is our goal to try to get, all the way throughout the neighborhoods that are outside the plan unit developments. But it really has been a focus on areas where we know that people may not check their smoke alarms or may not have working smoke alarms. So it.
For example, what would be some of those areas if you're?
So we've done a lot of things off of Gumtree, Squire Pope, Marshland, Fish Hall, Bagall. We've done, we did Chinaberry, because we did have a fire in Chinaberry that was pretty significant. We've had multiple in there, so we went in there. I think we did Shamrock Circle. Like I said, I'd be happy to put together a map or a list of the areas that we have done and some of the ones that we want to continue to focus on.
Yeah. I'm just curious to see where a lot of the activity is and where a lot of the need is. And I'm sure that we're making an impact with that program. I'm like Mr. Hentz. I would certainly want to volunteer if I can ride on the fire truck, maybe put on a helmet or something.
Sure.
And I know we've been doing some work in the community too about placing the fire hydrants and things like that. We've had some pretty good success in that area. And again, I'd be curious to see where some of those areas are that we've been able to improve on our fire hydrant placement. And again, where maybe there's some other areas that are still of some concern where there may be a need or questions about where the fire hydrants are placed. So I'm always interested in data and to see where we are, to see how we're doing. I think that's important for us, all of us working together so that we can say to our community that we are making some improvements or we're making some.
Chairman, you can't see me because I was.
Hello? Okay. Anyway, I think it's important. It's probably a good PR move to just say, hey, we're doing some things and making some progress. We're making some improvements in our community. And again, identifying areas where there may be needing more attention. And if we start to see some repeat, things, and that's something that we can address as well. But good job on that program. Now, is this also related to the addressing efforts that we've had in the community?
Yes. So that is, like I said, one of the things that we've added into when we go out to do fire in the streets now. We purchased new addressing placards that are high visibility and reflective, and each time we go to a home, we are asking that we be able to also place a new address sign up for them. And like I said, Chisholm is one that we did readdressing on, and it's our goal to get out there in February, the beginning of February, to do the fire in the streets, check smoke alarms, again, engage with them about the changing of the addresses and to post the new addresses for them.
And for the most part, we think we've been well received by people. You're knocking on their doors or showing up in the communities.
I think so. That it's something that I truly enjoy, and it is a situation where when we go to people's homes and we have the talks with them, they are very receptive. It's very nice to be there when it isn't an emergency and it's not the worst day of their life. So it's very rewarding to be out there and to be able to have the interaction in the community, like I said, when it's not the worst day of their lives. So I think that our personnel all enjoy doing it, and it really is, it gives you that feeling of being part of your community and being out there interacting. So it's something I talk to all of our new firefighters about when we do their orientation, and that while doing the firefighting may be the glory part of it, interacting with the community and really making these changes and doing the prevention is very rewarding as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just, I know that in history, and certainly part of our community and our culture, it can be a little unnerving to have someone in a uniform knocking on your door.
Well, so what we do
is a citation or a violation of some sort.
What we do is during the week before we plan to do fire in the streets, we put door hangers up, and we tell them what time we're going to be in the neighborhood. And typically we do it between 9 and 12, usually on a Saturday. And so they know that we're coming, and we give them a phone number too. So like if they want us to come to them at a certain time, we can try to accommodate that. If somebody knows they want us to come check it, but they're going to leave their house at 10 o'clock, we try to get to them first. Or if they're not going to be there, then a lot of times like they will call us and say, I'm not going to be here on this day, but I want you to come and check them. And then we'll do a different day for them. But it's been very well received because they know we're coming and they know why we're coming. So, and we get a lot of referrals that way too, because we've put smoke alarms up in someone's house during fire in the streets, and then they have friends and they tell them, and that just generates additional places that we can go and help. So
That's great. I'm always about trying to build that rapport with the public and, distill some of the myths we have about trust and things like when it comes to our town officials. So that's a good job, good program. So thank you for doing it. Any other questions for Deputy Chief Pfister?
Palmer had his hand up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Palmer had his hand up.
Palmer, I can't see Palmer.
Yeah, for some reason, it seems like, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, well, that's fine. I couldn't, I'm not on video, so I had to try to find the little signal there. So if I can
Oh,
be
I
heard.
see. I see
Yeah.
the icon now. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for Joe Hyde. I guess it's good to say, I can say Joe Hyde. For most, when you go out in the communities, are there any kind of special training that you go through? I mean, you're getting into a diverse community, where, as Chairman alluded to earlier, anytime quote unquote uniform people show up, there's always that little bit of airiness, when you come into the community. So I guess my question is, it doesn't take much. You guys are well skilled on how to put up a smoke alarm. I think that's fairly easy for them to do. But when you talk about overall community, and I think you touched on it quite, a good bit, how the officers are always, trained for going out into neighborhoods and having a personal touch. So I guess it's just my question about just the overall clarity on diversity when you come into neighborhoods, and historic neighborhoods especially.
I guess the thing that I would say is that we don't have any specialized training to that degree, but I think customer service wise, that's something that fire rescue really prides ourselves on, is that we try to be the most customer friendly that we can be, no matter what the situation is. So, if you guys have ideas, or there's something that you would like us to do, we certainly can look at that. But I think for most of fire rescue, we are out and about in all parts of the community all the time. And, can we always do better? Sure. So like I said, if there's any suggestions or ideas you all have, we'd be certainly like to look at them.
Yeah, and I asked that question because it came to my attention, in a very good conversation I had, that a lot of the firefighters, unfortunately, just to get trained personnel, a lot of the firefighters don't live on Hilton Head. And so that's why I go back to the question of, guys who work here, the professionals and what they do, still may not necessarily have, that little bit of feel for the neighborhoods. So that's why I'm asking,
So one of the things that one of our committees has been working on with is to do a training that like they purchased the Gullah Days Hilton Head Island before the bridge. And like we are going to do a question and answer with the authors of the book. So that is something that, like I said, one of our committees has been working on for all of fire rescue. So I'm looking forward to it. I had purchased the book as well, but that is going to come up sometime probably in the first couple months of this year.
Yeah, well, that, I mean, that sounds like a good inroads into getting to know the community better, especially when you have whatever that number of firefighters who don't live around and may not know the history or know the community as well. So,
Yes.
okay, sounds good.
Thank you. And of course, that is one of our recommendations from the task force as well. We'll continue to educate the town staff and our community on these historic neighborhoods and the Gullah Geechee culture, because that's what we're all about, the Gullah Geechee cultural preservations. And again, having that rapport in the community can hopefully be a good thing. Any other questions or comments for Deputy Chief Pfister?
Hey, Levon, can I jump in for just a second?
I think so.
Okay, thank you. I'd never want to miss an opportunity to thank Fire and Rescue and to just extol my impressions of their absolute professionalism, and the work that they do across this island just is unparalleled. It can't be matched. And we're so grateful for everything that they do in Fire and Rescue for Hilton Head Island. So, Jahida, on behalf of myself and Town Council, I wanted to make sure that you know that we think about you every day. If you need anything, we're here for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me jump in.
Thank you. That's Councilwoman Tamara Becker for the record. And thank you for that accolade for our fire and rescue staff. And we do appreciate all you do for our community. Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. The 2022 meeting schedule, I believe, is next. I've lost my screen for my outline. Oh, here we are. Yes, 2022 meeting schedule. In December, we talked about our meeting schedule, and because of the schedule, some of our members have had a problem, a challenge making a lot of the meetings. So we decided that we would schedule this meeting, this first meeting in 2022, and then have an opportunity to look at the meetings going forward. What I would want to say right up front is that I've certainly had some thoughts, and I've changed some of my thoughts because I do have concerns about the spread of the COVID viruses that are still going around. At one time back in the fall, I think most of us felt like there was an opportunity to might be going back even toward in-person meetings. At the beginning of this task force, we were meeting in person, and we were meeting at 1 o'clock on Mondays. So I guess what I would encourage and ask to hear from this task force in this discussion is to what we think now at this current state of where we are in the pandemic, and for what your schedules are and what's going to give us the best chance for participation when we start looking at a meeting schedule. The other part of the question that I have for staff is that do we have the ability to maybe, I don't know if we have to do the whole calendar, or can we do maybe 6 months at a time and see where we are and come back, or we do the whole calendar? Could we have an opportunity to amend it if our health situation and pandemic improves? So if someone from staff maybe can answer that part of before we have our discussion, that might help us in our discussion.
We can do it as you need to do it. Can schedule a few meetings at a time and approve it that way. But I believe you probably have to make a decision on the calendar that's before you, and I would ask the administrative staff to clarify that portion of it.
Let me jump in here. Sorry, this is Ann Siren, for the record,
Thank
interim
you.
comprehensive
Please.
planting manager. Yeah. We would appreciate if, obviously, as much advance notice we can give staff and the public on upcoming meetings would be appreciated. If at this point you'd like to revise the meeting schedule that you're looking at to approve the meetings through June, I think that would be, if that's as far as we can go at this point, I think we would appreciate that. If we can do the entire year and revise the meeting times at a later date, that would be, I think, less of my preference. I prefer to make sure that we have the meeting dates accurately, well in advance for your knowledge, for the public's knowledge, and for staff knowledge.
Okay. That's kind of the guidance I think I was looking for. And once again, I've lost my outline. So I'm just going to go by who I think I have here. I believe Mr. Malik, you might have been up first on this part of the discussion. You have any questions or comments about our meeting schedule for 2022?
I do not.
And you have seen the schedule. You're okay with the 1 o'clock on Mondays? Is that a good time for you?
I have seen it.
And
Yes, sir.
at this point, we're assuming that we're all still virtual, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Malik. Mr. Hens.
Yes, I couldn't make it any earlier, and I would prefer making it later in the afternoon. But if 1 o'clock is the majority preference, I can live with that.
That's great. I know that the earlier time was kind of a conflict for you and your teaching schedule, so I'm glad you could be with us. Okay. Mr. Campbell,
I am fine with this schedule.
this works for you?
Yep, it works.
I want you to know I saw your mother in the store yesterday too, and she asked me if you were making all the meetings. And then if I had a problem, I could call her. Just want you to know that I talked to your mama.
Oh, okay. Hey. I didn't give her a call today, so.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Simmons.
It still works for me.
I'm sorry, I'm breaking up a little bit, or at least on my end.
Yeah, the 1 o'clock schedule time works for me. The 1 o'clock does work.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think that's all of my members. I don't have my outline in front of me again. So I've made my comments, I've made my observations. I think that what I heard from staff is that it would be a good idea for us just to approve this full calendar meeting and address any other changes as they come up maybe in later months. Is that the best path to go?
Yes, sir.
Great, great, great. Thank you. Okay, well, I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting schedule as it's been presented to us.
So moved.
Thank you. I've got a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Teresa, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Abdul Malik,
I accept.
Mr. Simmons,
For the motion,
Mr. Campbell,
Approve.
Mr. Hens,
Good.
Mr. Stevens.
Approve.
Motion carries 5-0.
Very good. Thank you all for working that into your schedules. Okay, at this point, we're down to staff report.
Yes, very briefly. So it's been noted that the overlay district will be a part of the staff report in future task force meetings. The other thing is that Jen McEwen has developed a self-guided Gullah tour pamphlet with colorful photographs and descriptions of different sites. And I'll send that pamphlet out this week for your review. So she's asking for comments on that. So if you can get that back to me by the end of the week, that would be great. There are also several planned events involving the historic neighborhoods over the next couple of months. And you heard Johaida Pfister and her discussion about a fire in the streets for Chisholm Place to take place in February. There will also be a meeting for the historic neighborhoods about the Mid-Island Tract redevelopment plan. And that is to be held on January 11th from 5 to 8 at Hilton Head Island PSD in their community room, excuse me. And the consultant will give a presentation. And this is also an opportunity for public input. And staff appreciates your help sharing that information. There will be 2 heirs property workshops given in February, one on February 15th at Queen Chapel A&E from 5 to 7 o'clock. And the other one on February 19th at the Coastal Discovery Museum from 10 to 12. That's what I have for staff reports. And as we're getting these events in, I will be sending out that information, and please, I'm asking for your help to share that throughout the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. DeBose. The meeting for the Mid-Island Tract planning is, you said it's the 11th, right?
Yes.
That's a Tuesday, I believe.
Yes.
I just wanted to kind of stress that one to certainly task force members and members of the public. If you can, please give that some thought and attend if you can. If you can't attend, I want us to start thinking about some ideas for that track and have some input about things that can be placed in the community. For example, one of the thoughts that I had was when we talk about where to put a Gullah market or some sort of Gullah business or some sort of area where Gullah businesses can also be very present and thrive there. So we want to, I'm sure the consultants want and need some input from the community. And we want to make sure we get some ideas in there for that. Okay, great. Thank you all again for being here, members of Town Council and my planning commissioners and members of the public, and certainly my task force members. Again, I want you to know how much I appreciate your time and your efforts. If there's nothing else further to come before us, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Unless y'all want to stay here for a while, I mean, I'll hang out with you.
I'll second.
Thank you so much, y'all. Have a great day. And again, Happy New Year to everybody. We find ourselves adjourned.